Breaking tonight, the tech oligarchy is crumbling before our eyes. Mark Zuckerberg, the same man who banned a sitting president, just made a desperate pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago just a few months ago. And suddenly, what a coincidence, Meta's dropping its fact checkers and adding UFC's Dana White to the board. The timing couldn't be more obvious, folks. The left stranglehold on social media is ending. First, it was X under Elon, now Meta under pressure. The fact checkers are losing their jobs. Community notes are taking over. And the truth? Well, the truth is finally breaking free from big tech censorship machine. Now, while Meta's power structure is changing, let's talk about your power bills. They're skyrocketing, just like censorship was under Zuckerberg's reign. But here is the solution. This revolutionary power-saving device is helping thousands of Americans take control of their energy costs. Visit don'twastepower.com and get up to 50% off during their New Year special. Just plug it in and watch your bills drop. Don't let the power companies control your wallet. Take action now at don'twastepower.com and join the thousands already saving big. Okay, so how did we get here? Well, it was Mark Zuckerberg back on November 24th. George Beasy back then said Mark Zuckerberg is currently at Mar-a-Lago meeting with President Trump to avoid going to jail for helping Democrats steal the 2020 election with $400 million. And then Donald Trump News posted the same, actually a couple days later, during his visit to Mar-a-Lago, Mark Zuckerberg has promised Trump that he will work to ensure his Meta platforms grant their users freedom of speech the way X platform is doing it. Do you see the date on that? That's November 28th of 2024. And that's exactly what Mark Zuckerberg announced today. But we're also finding out that Zuckerberg, when he visited Mar-a-Lago, he donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration. Now, Jeff Bezos donated $1 million, and also visiting Mar-a-Lago. Yeah,
Bezos himself is founded by the tech billionaire Jeff Bezos, is expected to donate $1 million toward Donald Trump's inauguration fund. This, as Bezos himself is expected to visit Trump in person in the coming days down in South Florida. And this is news that comes just one day after we learned that Meta, Facebook's parent company and founded by Mark Zuckerberg, also gave $1 million to Trump's fund. Both tech billionaires have their own histories with Donald Trump, but it appears that they are leaving all of that behind, maybe even taking a page out of Elon Musk's playbook. Of course, he himself spent over $250 million supporting Trump's campaign, catapulting himself directly into the president-elect's orbit. Now, with only 39 days to go until Trump is back in office, we are seeing the billionaires working to ingratiate themselves with him, as they are certainly top of mind for him. I have new
Well, of course, that was a report from December 13th of last year. Now, Laura Loomer, she made this point on November 27th of last year. Crazy how Zuckerberg had dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Guess we're just supposed to forget about how he deplatformed a sitting U.S. president, then silenced all of Trump's supporters. Zuckerberg even censored the picture of Trump surviving the assassination attempt. Shocking. Here's the headline from when it happened. Trump banned from Facebook indefinitely, CEO Mark Zuckerberg says. Well, now Zuckerberg is singing a different tune. Now, keeping in the timeline of events, before we get to the big announcement that was made today, this is Shadow of Ezra. November 27, 2024, Zuckerberg made a desperate visit to Mar-a-Lago, reportedly pleading to avoid prison time.
Politico is reporting that Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago today meeting with President Trump. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. And Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change that we're seeing all around America, all around the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. Mark Zuckerberg, like so many business leaders, understand that President Trump is an agent of change, an agent of prosperity.
Right.
And so business leaders, CEOs everywhere, they want to be a an element, a supporter, a booster of making our economy prosperous, delivering for American workers, and making sure that America is the most powerful, wealthiest, freest nation on the face of the earth. So we'll see what comes of that. And Mark, obviously, he has his own interests, and he has his own company, and he has his own agenda, but he's made clear that he wants to support the national renewal of America under President Trump's leadership.
Wow. That was Stephen Miller on Fox back when Zuckerberg went down to Mar-a-Lago. Personally, and I think when we initially reported on Zuckerberg and Bezos, I felt that those guys, they were just jealous. They were on the outside looking in. Elon Musk was having all the fun at Mar-a-Lago. They wanted a piece of the action. They write some big checks. They go down, make some big promises. And now we're finding out what some of those promises were. Okay, here we have Trump winning the election. Zuckerberg meets Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Electors certified. Dana White immediately put on the Meta board of directors. Facebook instantly changes its policies on censorship and politics. Probably nothing. All coincidence, right? I don't think so.
Restoring free expression.
So here is Mark Zuckerberg, part of his announcement from today.
Restoring free expression on our platform. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third.
Before you get to your third point, Mark, does that mean you're going to remove all the phony fact checks that I got from overseas, from weirdos I couldn't even read the language? Are you going to remove them off of my Facebook page and allow me to upload video there again? That'd be great, Mark. I haven't been able to upload video to my Facebook page for Next News Network in probably a year.
How we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes.
Okay, here's point 3. New approach to policy enforcement, Mark Zuckerberg.
That account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
Fuck you.
Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that...
He said he's moving to Texas? What?
Want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more.
Wow. Zuckerberg bending the knee. Oh, it's long overdue. Long overdue. Juanita Broderick posting this 5 hours ago. Funniest damn thing I've read today. Emergency International Fact-Checking Network meeting has been called. Meta is ending U.S. fact-checking partnerships and shifting crowdsourced moderation tools. The International Fact-Checking Network called an emergency meeting after the announcement. Cat turd making it very clear. Don't trust this snake. If Kamala would have won, he'd be censoring you even more. And I think that this was part of the negotiations, the art of the deal that took place when Zuckerberg went down to Mar-a-Lago. And Zuckerberg and Trump, they had a meeting, and Zuckerberg's like, well, why don't you put my boy Dana over there on the board? Dana, of course, is a free speech absolutist. And, maybe he'll be able to keep Mark in line. Meta adding a new board member, including UFC head Dana White. Dinesh D'Souza jokes. He says they could probably find some new business from the governments of China, North Korea, and Cuba. Too bad for them. The old Soviet Union's out of business. Because the fact checkers claim they were blindsided by Meta's decision to end their partnership. Reportedly fear they won't be able to secure new business to fill the void, putting them at risk. Good. Sadie says, I don't trust Facebook or Zuckerberg as far as I can throw them. He censored people, banned President Trump. I think the only reason he's changed his tune because he sees the majority of people love Trump, and X has overtaken social media. He is a snake. Meta's fact-checking was very biased and extremely biased. And of course, don't forget that the fact-checkers at Meta also included the FBI. Libs of TikTok, she reported this same point, that the fact-checkers at Meta were reportedly blindsided by the news. Their partnerships were ending and are now afraid they won't be able to survive without Meta's funding, according to Wired. Bye-bye, you will not be missed. Yeah, the fact-checkers finally out. And Mario Nafal actually pointed this out. This was actually quite funny. He says, I'm never deleting this app. Incoming FCC chairman and the world's richest man have an entire conversation with memes and emojis, both trolling Zuckerberg. Nothing better than X. So it was Brendan Carr, who's the new FCC chair, who's already put the social media companies on notice. He posted this in response to the video of Zuckerberg, his announcement today. And that's the famous GIF. And if you know what he's like making the face. He's like, oh, yes, 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 right? And Elon Musk posting this emoji. Oh, can I show it to you? Show it. There it is. As you can't see it. Whatever. It's thumbs up and a fire. Okay, there it is. They're just having fun on X. Patriot Lady says, hopefully Dana White will be able to bring some sanity to the table at Meta. However, usually these board positions are ceremonial unless you're invested in the company. I still don't trust Zuckerbucks. And in other corporate news, another huge win, fast food giant McDonald's to abandon diversity goals in hiring, DEI, to stop participating in woke nonprofit corporate equity index. So McDonald's, they're out. And let's take a trip back to when Kash Patel appeared on the Alec Lace show. And here's what Kash had to say about that meeting with Mark Zuckerberg.
And let's put Zuckerberg as a fraud, pretending to care about American democracy and the election. This guy spent $400 million last election cycle, and I don't care what he says, he is going to spend money somehow, some way in this election cycle. And let's put that aside. He owns one of the largest social media companies on earth in Facebook, Meta, and Instagram. I didn't hear the CEO and owner, Mark Zuckerberg, come out and say, I guarantee you my companies will not participate in censorship at the behest of the FBI or anyone else in the federal government, like we did in the last two elections, like we did with Hunter Biden's laptop, like we did with the 51 Intel letter. He could have said that. but he didn't because he wants it to happen. And as a sort of proactive, preemptive move to say, "Oh, I told you so," he came out to the media and said, "Oh, my bad. I'm sorry." But it doesn't matter to these guys because they're going to go past November 5th. And if they get their way and Harris is awarded the victory, they're just going to be like, nothing to see here. And if Donald Trump wins, they'll come back and say, see, our companies tried to comply. But it's BS. And Zuckerberg is the biggest fraud in big business.
And that's what happened. Trump won, and they came crawling to Mar-a-Lago. So big changes happening in the social media world. And we have here's the news when it broke.
Instagram. Major announcement this morning from Meta, the parent company of the social media apps Facebook, Instagram, and also WhatsApp. In a video posted on his platforms today, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced changes to the company's fact-checking policy. NBC News senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson joins us now with the latest on this. Hallie, good morning.
Hey there, good morning to you. And this morning, Mark Zuckerberg is announcing some new changes for Meta, calling the recent elections a cultural tipping point towards prioritizing free speech. So this morning, he's announcing that Meta, which of course owns Facebook and Instagram, will move away from the independent, nonpartisan fact-checking they've had in place since after the 2016 election. Instead, he says they will rely on community notes. In other words, users putting out context. This is similar to what X is doing. Zuckerberg says Meta's complex moderation system makes too many mistakes with too much censorship. Meta also plans to get rid of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender and move their content moderation team from California to Texas, among other things, all essentially loosening up the way that Facebook moderates its content. This is all happening less than 2 weeks before President-elect Trump is sworn in. And as Zuckerberg and some of these other tech titans look to be making inroads with the incoming administration, after Mr. Trump's victory in November, Zuckerberg traveled to Mar-a-Lago. His company also donated about $1 million to the Trump Inaugural Fund. Keep in mind the backdrop here, right? Over the next 4 years, the Trump administration will set federal policy in areas like AI and antitrust that are really important to Meta and some of these other big tech companies, too. Lots to watch on the tech front this morning as it relates to politics. But for now, back to you.
Game over. Zuckerberg bends the knee. Elon Musk says, this is cool. Facebook dumps fact-checkers in attempt to restore free speech. Zuckerberg says moderators too politically biased as he pledges a system similar to X. Oh, here's Ron Paul. Oh, yeah, baby. Give me some Ron Paul.
Facebook censor Mark Zuckerberg, he met with Trump, and he also apologized a couple months ago, I guess, for the fact that they were taking orders from the White House to censor people. But they've made a switch. Fact checkers are too politically biased. Zuckerberg abandons Facebook censorship for X-like community notes, which is quite interesting because a lot of people were banned. I was banned from Facebook for many months for something that was their fault, not my fault. So now he's saying, you know what? It didn't really work that well to outsource all this stuff. We're going to follow Elon Musk and his free speech model. Now, Musk's model is not perfect, and a lot of people have complained about some aspects to it. However, it's undeniable that there's more ability to express yourself without worrying or self-censoring. So it's interesting that Zuckerberg has decided to follow that model.
And I don't think...
Okay, so actually here is the good doctor, Congressman Ron Paul, reacting to the news.
It's all of a sudden a springing up of righteousness and them doing the right thing.
No.
I think that this is a reflection that the attitudes have changed, and the people are resisting it. Once again, the people. I think it was a business decision on their part too. So that's not a dictator writing another law. That's the people in a large vote are saying, and I think the vote was, reflected in the last election. They're sick and tired of all this stuff. And when did he do this? After the election. He decided to back off.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll put on the next clip because this is what he said. He said, quote, more specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the U.S. He went on to point the finger at the real problem, quote, after 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address these concerns without being the arbiters of truth, but the fact checkers have just been too politically biased. That's a fascinating admission on a number of fronts, Dr. Paul. The first is, well, why are you bending with the wind of what the mainstream media is saying in the first place? Why don't you have some courage? Why don't you have some conviction and say, well, we're not going to be bullied by the New York Times into doing, the bidding of the censors for them? No. But now that it's not fashionable to do it, now they're changing their tune and saying, well, we hired a bunch of really bad people to be our censors, and they were so biased. We're just realizing it now after 8 years later.
Yeah, 8 years too late, if you ask me. The damage has been done. So we're going to keep a close eye on what's going on at Facebook. Maybe we'll get some of our privileges back over there. Who knows? But the social media revolution is here, Patriots. Meta's fact checkers are packing up their censorship toolkits, and freedom of speech is making a comeback from banning Trump to begging for mercy at Mar-a-Lago. How the mighty have fallen. But here is what the mainstream media won't tell you. This isn't just about Meta. It's about the complete dismantling of the left's information control system. So here's tonight's explosive question for you to duke it out in the comments. Should the fact checkers who help silence conservative voices be held legally accountable for their role in suppressing American free speech? And while you're watching the social media empire crumble, grab your MAGA Avengers merch at the merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It's linked below. Show the world you stood for truth when the tech giants try to silence it.